New Guys Podcast, episode 13 already. Time is flying. Not a lot to talk about this week, but we always make it work. First things first, starting off this past week, the NBA released their rules and their guidelines for their Orlando. They're in Orlando, right? And
Yeah.
whatever. They're like home court, they're a home base or whatever you want to call it. I know there's like a lot going into it, but I think the number one thing that we can get out of this is that there's going to be like an anonymous tip line that players can and staff can call into. Basically snitching. Not really. I don't know if snitching is the right word, but the way we associate the word snitch nowadays doesn't really apply to that. To call in and let one of the NBA officials know that someone is violating the guidelines, whether they're not wearing a mask, whether they've left the campus, so to say, almost like college. I want to know what you guys think about this because I saw a lot of memes about this.
Yeah, LeBron's going to call in. I saw Kawhi and Giannis outside fooling around, no masks.
Game 7 of the Western Conference. He's going to be like, I saw Kawhi and PG leave last night. I don't know about.
I don't know about y'all. You got to take my word.
I think like we're joking around about that because I don't think it's actually going to happen. People are like actually worried that there's going to be false accusations of like people leaving. Like that is so ridiculous. I don't think that's actually going to happen. Because like I think I think there's going to have to be a little bit more of just like than just LeBron telling Adam Silver or whoever it is that like Kawhi, like I saw Kawhi leave last night. Like that's so stupid. There is going to be more than just that. Like it's going to have to be other witnesses or something like that. I don't think it's just going to be like some Lakers players telling them that the Clippers players left. Like that. I think they're smarter than that.
I don't really know what to think about it, to be honest with you, because I mean, it's a good thing that they have it in place. I'll say that because you can't make it happen if you don't have a way to hold people accountable. So it lets you know, like, it keeps the players responsible. So that's my main takeaway from it. I don't really see anything controversial coming from it. As funny as that would be, I don't think it's very realistic. But especially since D'Angelo Russell isn't in the invited teams list, so he'd have to be on the watch list. But I think it's something to talk about, and what I'm more interested in is the amenities that they have for the players down there. They said they were going to have like a gaming lounge and like DJs and all that kind of stuff down there for the players, and it's not why it's not why players are going to want to be there, but it's definitely a pull factor. Like it's going to get more people on board, unfortunately, because some people aren't, basketball isn't enough for some of those players. Like we were talking about earlier, like Kyrie is one of those guys where they're considering not going. Obviously that's for other reasons, his own personal beliefs, but having those kinds of attractions is going to be very helpful in getting more players on board.
Yeah.
I think another important thing that they're going to have is on campus, I guess is the right word to say, or at base, they're going to have like a psychiatrist there, like some sort of a doctor, like a mental health doctor, just to have someone to talk to for these players. Because from what I know, they're going to be away from their families for a little while. They're going to be kind of trapped here because obviously with the coronavirus, they don't want anything spreading, and they want to keep it as contained as possible. So do you think these players are going to they're on board right now, but maybe like a month into it, they're like, listen, we're fed up with this. We feel trapped. We want to just get out of here. We want to be with our families and stuff like that.
I think it's going to be like everyone else. Like when this whole thing first started, like going into April and May, especially when this thing was like getting into its 4th and 5th weeks, people are kind of starting to, get a little agitated. Being at home all the time, obviously nobody, I think Jason Tatum was talking about it. He's like, I don't want to be in a bubble for 3 months, even if it is to play basketball or win like a championship. Like nobody wants that. So, like these guys are just like the rest of us. They don't want to be cooped up. So there could be some sort of pushback among, some players. If you have guys like, I know LeBron's on board, but if you have a good amount of players that don't want to go down there, it's obviously they're still going to have the playoffs and everything, but it's not going to be the product that you want if you're the NBA. So definitely something to watch out for is notable stars like Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving, even if he doesn't play. guys that speak out against this, it could snowball. And, some guys could have a considerable amount of guys who don't want to go down there.
Yeah, I think another aspect is also, not to hop to the NHL, but the Lightning just reported that 3 players and 2 officials or staff members had been tested positive.
Ezekiel
I think it
Elliott
was yesterday or
in the NFL.
yeah,
Mhm.
and so I think people are like still thinking that like it's going to go so smoothly that no team is going to be affected by the coronavirus in terms of how the playoffs play out. I think that's like just not going to happen. I think you're going to see. I think Adam Silver even said something to the extent of like, we're going to have teams that are going to lose players, and we're going to have to just keep going. And I think people are like underestimating how powerful that could be, especially if you're in Game 6 or 7 of the Eastern Conference or Western Conference Finals, and you have whether it be a star player like Kawhi Leonard, or even like a bench guy like Pat Bev or something. Like it's still pretty significant to lose a guy that you played with all year. And I think it's going to be interesting to see, at least in the weeks leading up to Orlando. I think obviously once they're there for a couple of weeks, you'd like to think that nothing will happen because everyone's staying in the same place. Everyone's been around each other. It's not going to spread. But in the week or so before Orlando, and then the week after they get there, like that's the time frame where shit could go down. And all it takes is one player to have it and to spread it through that entire hotel room, and then you're fucked. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Bless you.
I think they are. Oh, sorry, Anthony. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go
They
ahead.
are
I was
wearing
going to move
rings.
on. I was going to
I saw
move on,
something-
but keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's something where like they have like rings or something that they're gonna wear when they're
I saw
down there
that.
that like it can monitor or like predict symptoms or something.
Is that real?
I don't know. I mean,
I
apparently
find it very hard to believe that would be real, and we hadn't heard about it yet.
Yeah, that's
Like-
what I was wondering.
Because I saw people like, why do they have it and you can't get it for like first
Exactly.
responders? Or, I mean,
Yeah.
like people on the front lines. But
Yeah, I know, and it's not even like it was like the excuse would be like, oh, it's too expensive. I hadn't even heard about it. Like even if it was like $10,000, at least like put it out to
yeah,
the
we've heard
public.
about
Like,
it for sure.
weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I saw a pretty reliable Twitter account. I think it was like Hoop Central or something. I mean, I think they put something on their account, and they don't usually get shit wrong. So I don't know. It'd be kind of weird. There would be a lot of players that would not like that. I mean, like constantly knowing your temperature is a little weird, but
It's like it's a security ring on steroids. Oh my.
someone, I don't know who it was. It might have been Kuzma. I don't remember who it was. Someone was like this seems like a tracking device or something, and I was like, I don't know about that, but I don't know. I think you're gonna have players like not liking how the NBA is like kind of like babysitting them almost, of like they don't even have any trust in them to actually like do shit right. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know if they'll actually use those. It'll be interesting.
Well, hopefully that's the only ring that LeBron gets. During the
Dude, yo, I gotta say this quickly. Like on on that post, I saw. Oh my god, the comments, the mentions now on Twitter were just like, the only ring Westbrook will ever see, the only ring Harden will ever see, the only ring this is the last ring LeBron's gonna get. Like it was so funny. Everyone was just ripping on every team. It was hilarious. I had to mention that.
Yeah,
It was great.
Twitter truth.
moving on here. There's not really a lot of NFL news, but I think the biggest thing that come out of this past week, Jamal Adams apparently wants out of New York. I mean, who wouldn't want out of New York? That team
Yeah, him and everybody else.
is for like the last decade, or not even like the past 50 years. That team's been miserable. I saw when I was researching about Jamal Adams, and where he can possibly land. Antonio Brown came up as well too for some reason, and I know it's kind of dead at this point. Nothing's really going to happen with Antonio Brown, but there's a lot of talks about him coming back into the NFL and what teams would best suit him. I follow him and Deion Sanders on Instagram, and Deion Sanders has kind of been mentoring him a little bit, training with him. But I was talking to my friend about it, and he was saying, oh, Deion's the worst possible guy for him. Deion was so cocky back in the day, blah, blah, blah. But that was back in the day. Deion Sanders, I feel like, has obviously matured a lot with age, and he's just become a lot wiser, almost like that wise grandfather type of figure to Antonio Brown. I'm gonna get into wrestling later, but I'm comparing this to how Shawn Michaels was back in the 90s. This egotistical, arrogant SOB, and nowadays he's just like the calmest guy. He's the most he's very loved in the locker room from what I hear when he's back there. yeah, even in his later days with the company, he was not as egotistical. I think after like 2006, the whole Hogan thing that kind of started to die down. So I want to know, what do you think is the best possible spot for Jamal Adams and Antonio Brown to land? We'll start with Jamal Adams first.
Yeah, I think I don't know, best possible. It's kind of like if we're talking about what gives them the best chance to win the Super Bowl, I'd say like the Ravens is obviously number one. I'm thinking out of the teams he listed. I think he listed like 6 teams that he would want to go to. Like all of them. Yeah, all of them besides like I think like the Eagles were like Super Bowl like contenders really. I think the Cowboys too, but they're iffy every year.
Mhm.
But like it was like Ravens and 49ers and stuff like that. But I think the Cowboys actually are a kind of a dark horse team for him. Like their defense has always been like decent. I don't think it's ever been elite, and that's usually the problem that Dak fans have. Is that like Prescott hasn't gotten any help on the defensive end, but they've got like Van Der Esch, and if they can get Jamal Adams to add to that defense, I mean, then you've got a stud safety and a stud, linebacker up front, and
they've already got a stud safety. They've already got a stud safety. People forget they signed Clinton Dix this offseason.
True.
So that's something. Yeah. So they're
on the same level as he was with Green Bay, though.
Yeah, but I mean, not necessarily saying that didn't. I actually forgot they signed Clinton Dix, and he's great. I'm not, but I mean, I think adding Jamal Adams obviously gives you, safety advantage.
And the
that
Cowboys,
that duo would be crazy.
Yeah, for sure. But the Cowboys, like there's been clips of Jamal Adams saying to the Cowboys, like, "Come get me," like forever. Mm-hmm. And so that's like the low hanging fruit to me. Yeah. I think the team that would make the most sense for him is Seattle. Because they've got that. I would love that. I feel like that would be the one piece that would push them over the edge on the defensive side because their defense is like it's this close. They're so close to it. And if Jamal Adams, he said he put out a list of a couple teams that he would get traded to where he wouldn't want an extension, like right away. If Seattle was on that list where they would take his current contract, guarantee you Jadeveon Clowney resigns if they get Jamal Adams.
Mm. Yeah, true. Win now. That'd be like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. So if the Seahawks get Jamal Adams, it's Super Bowl or bust for sure. I think that's the spot that makes the most sense for him.
Well, and it may even be better if Seattle's on that list of teams that he wouldn't want to sign an extension with. It might even be better, depending on what you have to give up. Maybe not sign him to long term because I know Jamal Adams is going to want a ridiculous amount of money. He's going to want he's going to be the highest paid defensive player probably, or close to it.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best safety in the league. There's no question about it.
Yeah, so definitely highest paid safety.
But it may even be better for Seattle if it's like he doesn't necessarily want to sign an extension. You just, give up a second and a third and get him, and then get Clowney back, and then it's like, all right, go full force this year. If it doesn't work out, let Adams walk. Hopefully you sign Clowney to a 3 or 4 year deal. That might be the best move, but I don't know.
Well, it's going to be a blockbuster one way or the other because I saw something that said the Jalen Ramsey deal to the Rams is going to be like the baseline for what Jamal Adams and the Jets are looking for in return, and so it's going to be 2 firsts minimum to get Jamal Adams.
I would not pay that, bro.
But in the Seahawks case, they've already got the pieces. Like I think that for them, it makes sense because like they've got 2 great wide receivers, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and they've got Josh Gordon too if he gets reinstated. They've got a great run game. They've got Russell Wilson. They got pretty good offensive line. And they've got all those pieces on defense. If they can give up, they don't really need those draft picks for the future because they're going to be in the playoffs regardless. Those are going to be late first rounders no matter what. So, like, if they can give up that and get Jamal Adams or maybe like a first, a third, and then like another player or something like that, and then re-sign Jadeveon Clowney, I think it's worth it for Seattle.
It's hard. It is hard for me though. I don't know. Maybe this is just me not being a GM, but it's hard for me to give up that much for a player that I don't at a position that I don't necessarily changes the game dramatically. Just because I think someone up front, like let's say JJ Watt or Khalil Mack or something, can most likely has the ability to impact every single play, and I don't know how much I would say Jamal Adams does.
It's a fair assertion.
It's hard to say on that team though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. We've never seen him actually play on a legit team, so who knows? But
I think
I don't know.
Someone like Adams, like he's on one side of the field in his zone, no, you're not throwing to that side of the field just from his presence there. Quarterbacks don't want to throw to him.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to Jordan's thing about the GM and I don't think I would want to spend that much money or give up that many draft picks on a position that doesn't drastically change the game. I think Jamal Adams is like a rare safety that actually changes the tempo of a game.
So let me propose this to you guys. If you had the ability, let's say, to sign Clowney and Adams for the same amount of money, same length right now, who would you pick? Like, I'm taking Clowney, and that's just maybe the way I think of, like, I'd rather have a pass rusher than a safety. But I mean, you could argue that Jamal Adams is better at his position than Clowney is.
When was Clowney drafted?
No.
2014.
Yeah, 2014. I think
Adams was 26.
I think I'd honestly take Adams because if you've got a pass rusher, you've got offensive linemen that can weigh you down, but like a safety, you're back there by yourself. It's just you against the ball. You're not really matched up against a wide receiver if you're a safety. So you're not worrying about anybody beating you. You're just worrying about making sure that your teammate doesn't get beat. So I think a safety, it's literally a safety. Like it's a valve back there for you to not get burned. But whereas a pass rusher is more on the offensive. Me just thinking of the way that an ideal defense would run in my mind, I would take Jamal Adams.
I feel like I get exactly what you're saying. Like,
yeah.
I think the thing is, like, Adams is the only guy on that Jets defense, or he has been. So he's kind of been like the anchor, obviously. But then you see the Seahawks. I think they traded for Jadeveon Clowney last year, like whatever week it was, and he really transformed the defense too. Like, he was a game wrecker. He really made a lot of great plays. I think it's really just a matter of personal preference. I think if the Seahawks feel that they can, or whatever team gets Jamal Adams, if they feel like their need is stronger at safety, I think it really just depends on whatever team's interested. I know Adams himself said to Ryan Clark that he would be interested in going to the Buccaneers, which, as we know, one of the worst. Maybe not. They had a really good run defense last year, but their pass defense was awful. So a guy like Adams could really transform that whole defense back there at the safety position. So I think it really depends on the team's need. The individual team. I don't think it's so black and white.
That's the way I was thinking too, especially for the Seahawks, just because like playing in the NFC, they got to go up against so many great passing attacks. Like they're gonna have like the Cardinals, their wide receiver core is loaded. It's absolutely stacked top to bottom. Like
in my opinion.
Yeah, Cardinals have the best and deepest wide receiver group from top to bottom, just even past Kirk Fitzgerald and Hopkins now. Like it's just unreal. And then they've got the 49ers. They're going to have to play New Orleans. They're going to have to play Tampa. They have to play all those teams. And it's just, I would much rather have somebody back there to make sure you don't get burnt than somebody trying to rush the passer.
Yeah. It's interesting. So you mentioned the Cardinals. Like, I think they're, like, not to go off with the Jamal Adams, but like they're definitely a team that has so much freaking potential. Like, I mean, Kyler Murray coming off like a fantastic season, obviously, being rookie of the year, but he I think he has MVP caliber or potential, I should say, this season. Honestly, that might be a hot take, but he's just the type of he mimics Lamar Jackson and has a better arm, in my opinion. I think Anthony made that point when we were making our QB list, but I don't think he's as running back-esque as Lamar Jackson. So I think past the line of scrimmage, Lamar has huge advantage, and even behind it when he's scrambling. But Murray has a much stronger arm, and we saw how successful Mahomes and Jackson were with their MVP seasons, and I mean, those are the types of quarterbacks that seem like they're taking over the league.
And
second year too.
Yeah, that too. And if you've been reading my articles about how I think the season's going to play out, I think the Cardinals are going to start out really hot, like 7-1 hot. Like their front half of the schedule it plays to their advantages. The only thing I have against Murray, and I don't want to spoil like what I think is going to happen in the second half of the season because I haven't published those articles yet, but I think that the only thing holding the Cardinals back from being one of the top teams in the NFC is their offensive line and defense.
Absolutely.
They've got an awful offensive line.
I hate to interrupt you. I wouldn't say it's their defense necessarily, but I think it's their secondary. Because I think their front seven is fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Excuse
they've got some really great pieces. They got like Chandler Jones and Isaiah Simmons are going to be monsters. Like it's going to be almost impossible to keep one of them or both of them from getting to the quarterback.
Buda Baker
And
had
then-
a great season as well.
Yeah, and Patrick Peterson isn't what he used to be, but like it's like you said, their secondary needs a whole lot of work, and then that offensive line needs to shore up. But like they've got Hopkins, they've got Fitzgerald, they got Christian Kirk, they got Andy Isabella, who kind of turned it on towards the end of the year, and then they got Hakeem Butler, who didn't play last year because of an injury, but he was a monster at Iowa State. I think he's going to be a breakout player this year. Like, if you go back and watch his highlights, he was like DK Metcalf Jr. Like it was ridiculous. So
it almost begs a question. You talked about offensive line for them. You know, would it have been made? I was really high on Isaiah Simmons, and I was actually pissed. I mean, I wasn't pissed because I wasn't a Panthers fan, but I was like shocked that the Panthers didn't take him.
Oh, here in North Carolina, it was terrible. Like, I had like 7 people blow up my phone as soon as it happened. I was like,
yeah,
I could not believe they passed on him. Right? Yeah, Derek Brown. Their draft was really good, but oh my god.
Yeah.
That's gonna bite them in the ass.
He could transform that Cardinals defense just because he's so versatile.
He was the perfect Luke Kuechly replacement, and they just passed on him.
Yeah. It almost, like I was saying, it almost begs the question: would the Cardinals have been better off taking like Tristan Wirfs or like another offensive lineman there? Because I mean, I think their defense it wasn't necessarily good, but their offensive line like is atrocious. And like Kenyon Drake coming off of his hot end of the year, you have Kyler Murray. I think they would have been better off trying to mimic like the Saints kind of that they've played the past couple of years where. Just double the offense is a good defense. Like, just kill them with the offense, and you'll be okay. And you still have Chandler Jones. You still got playmakers on the defensive end.
But when you have that great of a player like that, would you pass up on him personally as a GM?
I think that that's the thing. I think if it was anybody other than Isaiah Simmons that was left, they would have definitely taken an offensive line. But it was like you just can't pass on that.
He's got rookie of the year for the defensive end like written all over him. He's probably my pick, honestly, even over Chase Young.
He's certainly my pick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really interesting division, actually, because, I mean, I think the Rams are kind of in limbo or on the decline. But every other team, I think, is pretty –
they can go either way.
Pretty competitive. Like, Jamal Adams could go to probably 2 teams in that division, the Niners and the Seahawks. But if you went to the Niners, like, imagine you bolster that defense that already – probably the best defense in the league.
Could you imagine if you went to the Cardinals and helped their secondary?
That would be awesome.
That would almost completely eliminate that. Like, I mean, they'd still need corner help, but like that secondary would be completely boosted if he went over there.
Well, I mean, and that might be the best division in football, honestly.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because the Rams are such a wild card where they could just like, I mean, Jared Goff had a great year the time they went to the Super Bowl, but like, I mean, they still have their wide receiver core that they can certainly win 10 games in a season. You have the Seahawks who are definitely going to win 10 games, and then you're expecting the Cardinals to, blow up this year as well. So I don't know. That NFC overall it's just
stacked. The AFC is so top heavy.
Yeah.
You've got like 4 or 5 teams at the top, and then everybody else is mediocre at best. The NFC, you've got like 8 or 9 teams that are all.
Yeah. And they have so many teams where like the Packers, for example, they weren't great last season. They didn't fulfill, a lot of people's potentials, but
even though they made it to the NFC Championship game.
They were like 13-3, but they felt underwhelmed.
Yeah. But it's Aaron Rodgers. Like he can do him, the Saints, the Seahawks. Like they have so many guys that all can make the Super Bowl. Now. Yeah, the Buccaneers now. Like it's the AFC. It's almost like the AFC is turning into the East of the NBA.
It's weird because I associate the NFC with the West and the AFC with the East just for whatever reason. Yeah, and it's like it's the same exact thing in the NBA, which is just
because it's been that way with New England for the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's like every big name player is leaving the AFC and going over to the NFC, and then it's like every big name player that was in the East is now like Kawhi and all them moved to the West. So it's like
you got Lamar and Patrick Mahomes running the AFC for the next 10 years or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the best quarterback has been in the AFC though. I can't name the last time an NFC quarterback was the best quarterback in the league.
True.
Think about that.
I think peak Aaron Rodgers back when he was at his MVP level. Yeah. But beyond that, you have a very good point.
Yeah.
Same with Super Bowl champions. I feel like the majority have been.
Yeah.
Is it even worth talking about where Antonio Brown could land? Because how realistic is that?
It's not.
Tampa Bay.
He's either gonna.
Tampa Bay Tom.
He's either
San
gonna go to
Fran, maybe.
Seattle or Baltimore. There's no in between. Like he's either
Yeah,
not gonna come back
I
or he's
think
gonna go one of
Baltimore would
those
be
two
like the
teams.
perfect fit.
I would
God,
hate that. I would hate that so much.
I would
If he
hate it.
went
Yeah,
to-
it'd be so nasty.
If he went to Baltimore, oh my god. I mean,
He's cousins with
I'd
Hollywood.
boycott the NFL if he went to Baltimore. Like
That's like
I wouldn't watch. It'd be over. They'd go
Yeah.
like
Warriors
15-1.
type shit. That's like Kevin Durant going to the Warriors. Like I'm not even trying to joke around. That's like really.
Yeah, no,
serious
yeah.
about.
yeah.
Could you imagine how mad? If we're mad, could you imagine how mad Steelers fans would be if they had that core and they did nothing with it, and then Antonio Brown does all this just to go to the Ravens?
Yeah, and Anthony, you mentioned KD. It's almost like exactly like it's like not in the same sense of like KD because he lost to the Warriors, but it's like the Ravens get bumped in the first round, and then like the offseason comes around and they sign some like big ass player
like,
where it's
oh,
like it
that's
makes
it.
it unfair. Yeah, exactly.
Depending on the
Yeah.
coaching, you might as well.
Yeah,
If you come at me with the Ravens and Madden, I'm quitting. That's it. Like I just won't even play the
Yeah,
first
you
drive.
can't. That's not. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be able to do that.
that's
It's
a
like too
ban
low.
right there. That's a team you can't be in. One-on-one.
Yeah, not allowed. I'm gonna kind of ramble a little bit about wrestling. It's not gonna
Go
be
ahead. Go
not
off.
gonna be as big as last week.
I'm putting my
but
mic down for this one.
I wrote a backlash. I wrote an article about backlash. I just posted on the main page, I think Tuesday. But I went into a lot of it there, but I want to really go into this Edge and Randy Orton match, and oh my God,
Who won?
Orton won.
Fucking kidding me.
I had a feeling he was gonna win. It just seemed like that's someone that was gonna.
Because I'd say like he was gonna win, yeah. It was a fucking fantastic match. I really wasn't expecting all of that to come out of it. I mean, they were promoting it as the greatest wrestling match ever, and I really didn't. I was saving this just for this. I really didn't want to get into too much in my article. I wanted to save a little bit for this, but promoting it as the greatest wrestling match ever, having all these promos. This is my kind of analogy for it. It's like someone telling you, "Oh, you got to watch this YouTube video. You got to watch this video, man. You got to watch this." And they just keep telling you to watch it. And by the time you watch it, you want to hate it. It can be the funniest, the coolest. It can be a dog doing a backflip while farting. And you're gonna want to hate it just because it's been shoved down your throat. Oh, you got to watch this. This is awesome, man. That's how I kind of felt about this match.
I
And
bet that's a YouTube video. I'm gonna look that up right now.
Oh my god.
And going into it, it was like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna be really tough on this match. I'm gonna go full on internet wrestling darling on this match here. But it really delivered. It went all over the place from the Attitude Era to the golden days of the 60s and 70s with the classic tie-ups, and then Edge, and then it became finisher fest. I think Edge hit the rock bottom on Orton. I thought that was pretty cool. And then the finish, I think that was the best way to finish that match with Orton hitting a low blow, or he kind of went below the belt on Edge. I really don't know. I think it was kind of a knee, and then he hit him with the punt. I think that was the only way you can end the match up to that point. But yeah, no one really looked weak besides Edge, literally, because he actually tore his tricep, which is absolutely devastating. Because people, I saw Jordan. Jordan's about to cry right now.
What the fuck? Why they gotta do my man like that?
And I kind of went in. I didn't really go into that much depth. But do I think that this is the greatest wrestling match ever? I don't know if you can even count it, because it was filmed in the Performance Center, and I heard a lot of different sources, different reliable sources saying, one side was saying, oh, it was filmed all the way through, all like 40 minutes or so, which is fucking unheard of these days. Like, we really don't get Iron Man matches, which are wrestlers going at it literally for 60 minutes, see who can get the most pinfalls or submissions. And on the other side of that argument, I heard that they filmed it in multiple segments, and they tried to make it as entertaining as possible by like almost like a movie type of thing, like cut and then take a little break and then go back at it. So just for that reason alone, just for that debate, I wouldn't say it's the greatest ever. I still think that matches like Undertaker and Shawn Michaels at Mania 25, Cena and Punk, probably my second favorite match ever at Money in the Bank 2011, definitely sit above that one. But all in all, it was great. I really don't want to bore you guys too much with all the details from the whole show, because I kind of went into that a lot more in depth on my article. So if you care that much, go check it out. I'm done. All right.
All right.
No riot this week.
I'm
Right.
disappointed. I was expecting my blood to boil.
Nah, not this week.
All right.
Boiling.
in the next segment.
Well, yeah, we're gonna get there on this one.
Yeah.
Top 10 NBA guards. All right. This is probably one of the more controversial ones that we've done yet.
Let's just get this out there. We are
And-
not like counting LeBron as a guard. I know he
That's-
ran a lot
yes.
of goals.
Yeah.
this year.
Also,
We are
it's
not counting him
interesting
as a guard.
because we said before that like usually it's like the 6 through 10 that gets really like fuzzy, where people like have different players, some outside of the top 10. But for me, 1 through 10, other than maybe 1, is like kind of debatable, honestly.
Yeah.
I think one,
I think 2
1
could
and
be
2
debatable.
should be. I think 1 and 2 are locked up, but
For some
Well,
people, it's not though.
for some people, it's
Some
not.
people.
Who shall remain
Yeah.
nameless?
Should we start this off?
Well, honorable mentions first. I have
Honorable mentions.
Oh yeah.
Ben.
I want to say Kyle Lowry.
Mm.
He's on mine. Kyle Lowry's very underrated. I think he's pretty much him and Siakam this year really prevented the Raptors from dropping off. You know, obviously Nick Nurse deserves credit, but Kyle Lowry, you know, I think he's been an all-star for I think all of the last like 6 or 7 seasons. Really solidified himself last year in the finals. I think he's just really good defender, good playmaker. He can score, he can shoot, he can really do whatever you ask. So yeah, Kyle Lowry.
He's severely underrated,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt. All right, so I have 3. Graham's gonna get pissed. He's already discussed it with me on the side about this, but
Oh my god.
so I have Kemba right outside the top 10.
Oh my god.
I have explanations for it. I'll explain it at the end. And then I have Devin Booker outside, and then I have Chris Paul. All of them, like other than Booker, I think Kemba and CP just missed the cut.
Hey, Chris Paul deserves honorable mention.
Yeah, Chris Paul bounced back this year. Obviously, last year he wouldn't even sniff the top 10, but he's held that OKC team like crazy. So those are my 3.
Number 10.
Well, I've got 3 honorable mentions as
Oh,
well.
we didn't even.
Yeah, I've got CP3 as an honorable mention as well. I've got CP3. I've got Victor Oladipo as an honorable mention, and my third one is I had him and I lost him. I'm pretty sure this is not who it was, but I'll go ahead and throw it in there anyway. What the heck? John Wall when he's healthy. Honorable mention for the top 10.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about him.
Forgot about him.
He
Because
hasn't played in like 2 years, but like when he and Beal were both all the way on, Wizards were a top 4 team in the East. I don't know if Wall will ever get back to that point, but back when the most recent thing that we've seen from him is when he was at his prime, and when he was on. So
I think it's tough because we said that about KD a couple of episodes ago, where if we were ranking top 10 NBA players, KD is 1 or 2 on most of our lists. But also, I think it's rightful to say that KD can get back to his normal self. I don't know if I can say the same thing about John Wall, just because KD's a much better player. So
yeah,
I think I have to take into account what's the likelihood that they get back to how they were.
And I agree with that.
Yeah. For John Wall, it's like it's still, I think he can still get back to there, but I don't know if it's enough for me to include him in the top 10.
I agree. And I just looked in my phone. I remembered who my other honorable mention was. It's Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Honorable mention.
That's a shame. That is a shame.
He was very, 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 very close. The only
He was
reason
injured too. So.
Okay, the only reason that I don't have him in my top 10 is because I haven't, other than last year's playoffs, I haven't seen much of him that classifies him as anything more than an elite 3-and-D.
A very elite 3-and-D though. But that's
I agree.
Very elite 3-and-D, but that's pretty much the extension of his game.
But like you said, I hate to bring football into this. I really don't like crossing sports together. Like you said, but the Saints double the offense is just as good as a good offense and a good defense.
Yeah. Well, all right. So, do you guys want to jump into the top 10?
Yeah.
So we can kind of. So I have Klay at 10. So I can kind of. I was gonna make a point about Klay, but I'll just start the top 10 countdown. So I agree with Graham in saying that he's an elite 3-and-D because I don't. He certainly could not carry a team like maybe.
Do we know
I don't
that?
know, Donovan.
Now,
Mitchell.
I will say this: if my Charlotte Hornets manage to land Klay Thompson when he's a free agent, I will be ecstatic. I don't care if he's a 3-and-D. He will be the face of the franchise right away. But I think that, while he's on that Warriors team, his role has been kind of relegated, and we've never seen him, have to be that elite, number one option.
Oh, Jordan, you said Donovan Mitchell. That reminds me. He should be definitely honorable mention, if not in the top 10.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave him out
You don't
of
have him in
this.
the top 10? Oh,
I forgot about him
Right.
completely. He should be on
Okay,
this.
it's all
I
right.
heard the
It's all right.
excitement in Graham's voice, just of the thought of Klay Thompson being on
Dude,
the Hornets.
I'm getting my jollies
Michael
right
Jordan
now.
was never. Michael Jordan was never.
But Graham, let me I don't think if you put Klay on that team, I don't think they become. I think they become a playoff team, but I think I don't know if it puts them in the category of top.
I don't
6
care.
or
Playoff
5
team is my dream.
No. I agree. But I think if you stuck Mitchell on that team, I think they become a solidified top 5.
Now here's let me go off on a Hornets tangent real quick. My primary goal for the Hornets is to get Brandon Ingram, because he would fit right in with everything that we've got going on. We've got exactly. Pelicans are going to have to let him walk first, which is going to be a tough task. But we've got Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier running the 1 and 2. We've got Miles Bridges, who was an MVP of the Rising Stars game. We've got PJ Washington, who was a Rookie of the Year candidate for the first couple months of the season before he fell off a little bit. And then, he can play the center. If you put Brandon Ingram in there with Bridges at the 3-4, that starting 5 is one of the best in the East. And it's young. We can have all of those guys for years to come. So
yeah. My problem, the one reason I don't have Klay higher, I think he's an elite scorer. He's someone who could drop 50 points easily. But he has no on-ball game. He won't ever dribble the ball. I mean, there's videos on YouTube where it's Klay Thompson scores 40 and dribbles the ball 12 times. He's so awful. He needs someone to help run the offense with him. So that's why I say if he was on a team with maybe a bunch of average guys, I don't know how well he would do, just because he needs a point guard or someone else to let him get free. But even so, he's the best 3-and-D player in the league
by far.
So it's it's not even close. And so he's shown the ability to score 50 a game, score 40 a game in crucial situations. So that's why I've
Game 6 Klay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got Beal at 10.
Oh, the disrespect! Oh my god!
Hey, listen, hear me out.
Okay.
Klay Thompson's better than Bradley Beal because of this. Bradley Beal is out of 450 defensive players, he's 445th or something.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Granted, he has to do a lot on the offensive end, but dude, I mean, come on, you're what are you, 6'4", you're relatively in good shape. Not relatively, you are in good shape. You're in great shape. You're in the NBA, and you can't put some effort forth on. You're not Isaiah Thomas, dude. You can do a little something. So I knock him for that. You got to be able to play defense. Everybody above can play defense.
That's valid. Yeah.
You talk about defense, and that kind of contradicts my pick. I put Kemba Walker at 10.
Okay.
I've got Ben Simmons at 10.
Ooh.
I respect that.
I went back and forth about putting Kemba and Simmons. And Jordan, you're gonna have to take the non-biased part of the bio out of this. I put Kemba just because fuck the Sixers.
Yeah.
Almost like you were with Embiid last week.
I put non-biased, and then I put in parentheses. I put usually, because sometimes we stray away. But obviously, I'm gonna have to change that again. So you guys all have Kemba. So Anthony already has Kemba. Pat, you and Graham have Kemba on your list.
I do.
Somewhere.
I don't want to spoil it. Yeah, no.
I'm just assuming. Cause
what did you expect?
I was
I'm a Hornets fan who's on a Boston sports podcast. Of course, I'm going to have Kemba Walker on my list.
Kemba Walker, yeah.
All right. Well, number 9, I have Ben Simmons at 9.
I have Klay.
I have Klay at 9 as well.
And I've got Devin Booker at 9.
Get him out of the top 10.
No, and I can see the defense argument. I can see that.
Yeah, because it's the.
That's the argument that I made the other week. And I made it against Karl Anthony Towns when we were talking about centers last week. But so I completely understand that. The only thing is that it's the same thing that I would say to Pat's argument about Bradley Beal. If Devin Booker wasn't the only top tier player on the Suns, if you throw Devin Booker for say this would never happen because he's on max deal and he's got so many years left. If you put Devin Booker on the Timberwolves with Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell, his defensive rating would go up because he's not the only one that's having to do anything.
Right.
And same thing with Bradley Beal. Like we were talking about, if you throw Bradley Beal on the Nets, he's not going to have to carry so much.
Yeah, it's like James Harden a few years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he plays defense now, but like before, you would like there's a clip
It
of
was
him standing
terrible.
there on the fast break.
Yeah.
He didn't even move. Yeah. That's definitely fair.
One thing about Booker, he's actually improved. Like at the beginning in his first couple of years in the league, he was like scoring 25 a game, but he was like shooting like not very. It was like 42%, which is if you're going to be like all offense, like you need to score at an efficient rate. But I guess this year he's bumped it up to he's shooting 49%, averaging 27, 26. So he's definitely a great offensive player. But my one gripe about him is he's failed to do anything with the Suns team like multiple years in a row. And like
fair.
for me, the DeAndre, I have DeAndre Ayton really high. Like we did our centers list last week, and I had him a lot higher than anyone else. I don't think you guys had him in the top 10. But
you had him at like 7, and nobody else had him.
I think he's a lot better than some people give it. So maybe that's just me thinking he has a great center in Ayton, and maybe some people don't see him as that good. But I think he needs to get something done with that Suns team before I really consider him, one of the better guards in the league.
I think those are all fair arguments.
Yeah.
So did we all do 9?
Yeah, we all did 9. Those Pat and Anthony both had Clay. Then at 8, I've got Kyrie Irving.
8?
I have Kemba.
Yeah.
I got
Jordan has left the chair.
And that's not even coming from he's a Hornets fan.
I know. That's what I'm surprised about.
I think Grant,
Kyrie
correct me
Irving-
if I'm wrong, he didn't play this year. He played like 5 games or something.
He played very, very minimal time. Kyrie.
Hey, he might not even be in the NBA because he's trying to start his own league.
Exactly. Like he made the shot against the Warriors, and then he just dipped. Like he was a shell of himself in Boston. Okay, I will say this: he's still got the best handles in the league. No question about it. Best hand. Jason Williams exists, but
maybe we'll be another top 10 someday. But go ahead.
But I think that Kyrie.
I'm going through the players that you haven't said yet, and I'm like, I cannot, because I know one guy that you have over Kyrie, and I can't believe it.
Kemba over Kyrie till the day I die.
Yeah, I know oh my god. All right. So that's
once again usually non-biased.
Usually.
Well, I mean, the thing is though.
Usually we mean like
having Kemba over Kyrie from Graham's point, like he wasn't a Celtics fan, but he's a Hornets fan, so like Kemba was lifeblood.
Kemba is like the
Kyrie
second coming in my mind. Like,
yeah.
I wanted to put him at number 1 just for the meme, but I decided against it.
All right. So I have Mitchell. I have Donovan Mitchell at 8.
Respectable.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
We all say our 8.
Yeah. I didn't hear Anthony and Patrick. Where did you guys?
I didn't hear either of you guys.
Oh, I said CP3.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that was when Jordan got up and left. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was fuming.
Yeah,
I didn't hear anything.
I had Kemba,
Blocked out there for a second.
Yeah. Okay. Well, since we just had this tangent, number 7, I've got Kemba Walker. I've only got him 1 spot over Kyrie.
Okay. All right.
You guys aren't gonna like me for who I have right above him.
Right above
I got
Kemba.
Ben Simmons above Kemba on my list. At 7, yeah.
No, I like the Simmons respect. He deserves respect. Coming
Even
from
though
a
he plays
Celtics
for
fan.
Philly.
Yeah.
But he's
Exactly.
on the Sixers.
Like we said, usually not biased. We put it aside.
If you give Ben Simmons a 3-point shot, he's top 5.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
In the
100%.
NBA.
In the NBA, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I put Bradley Beal at 7.
I also have Beal at 7.
Wow.
Let's go, Anthony. Great mind.
Grant, do you have Beal higher than this?
I've got him at 6. He's my next player.
Ooh.
Bradley Beal at 6.
Wow. I got
Who'd you have at
Kyrie
7?
6.
I have Beal, Walker, Kyrie, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
My
Alright,
6,
so-
I put Damian Lillard.
Oh,
You forgot about
Damian
him.
Lillard at
Oh
6.
my god.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
You forgot about Dame Dollar. I also have Dame at 6.
Wow.
I couldn't tell for a second.
The disrespect is
I
unreal.
forgot about him.
I don't know if I have Kyrie. You guys have
At first,
Kyrie
I
over
thought you
Dame.
forgot about him, and then I'm like, wait, did I do something wrong? And then I'm like, wait, did I do something wrong? Because they kind of reacted like,
Yes,
No.
dude, Dame is so underrated. Everybody at Ride the Wave hates Damian Lillard. I swear, there's something about it. Like I had to put something on my story a couple weeks ago because everybody was saying that Anthony Davis is. I say Dame is better than AD. I think AD is overrated.
Right.
I think
Hey,
Okay, I hate the Damian Lillard is underrated thing because he's been underrated for so many years.
he has.
Underrated. And
Okay,
what
listen,
has he done? He's won like
everybody
3
thinks
playoffs.
He hasn't
everybody
won
thinks that
anything.
James Harden. Everybody thinks that James Harden is like top 3 in like top 5 in the league, no question. But when you look at it, Damian Lillard is like neck and neck with James Harden in terms of what they've accomplished in their careers. James Harden rode Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook's coattails to an NBA Finals appearance with the Thunder, and that's all he's done. He won an MVP, and that's it. He won an MVP.
He should have. He could arguably have 3 MVPs. He should
Harden
have
has
at
done-
least 2.
I have Harden outside of my top 5 in the NBA, so I can say
I have him at 6. I have him at 6 in my top 5 in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's
But one thing, Harden has done more than Damian Lillard because Harden pushed the Warriors to 7 games, and they would have gotten to the finals and beaten the Cavs if they hadn't shot the worst percentage in NBA
or if
history.
CP3 didn't get hurt too.
Yeah, CP doesn't get hurt. Eric Gordon doesn't turn into a brick house.
Andre
Like, I mean,
Rosen.
there's so many aspects of
Brick
I
house.
don't think Harden, like, I mean, I don't know what his percentage was in the fourth. I'm sure he didn't shoot well, but I mean,
'Cause
statistically,
he had to shoot.
they had one of the teams has one of the worst quarters ever, and they miss out, and they're beating that Cavs team. They're beating that beat up LeBron, like bum J.R. Smith, like they're gonna destroy them.
Hill.
So it's tough. I don't know.
I don't know how you can have Damian Lillard outside your top 5 guards. I just don't know. I just don't know how you
You
can
don't
do
even have him in your top 10.
Oh, I do. That's what I'm saying. The disrespect is unreal. You'll see where I have him. You'll see.
Gives him a 3, guaranteed.
You have him. I thought you
Oh,
forgot about him.
I think I just.
You have him higher than. Oh God, I'm worried about where you have him.
All
Okay.
right, let's just go to 5. Let's just go to
number 5,
I have Dame at 5.
All right.
Kyrie Irving. That's 5.
Great. I
I
got
got
Kyrie as
Russell
well.
Westbrook at 5. I've got Russell Westbrook.
Russ at 5.
Yeah, man.
I should have broke out my Westbrook jersey. I had to rep him.
Okay.
Russ has
listen.
always been one of my favorite players in the league just for his hustle, honestly.
Oh,
I'd love to hear the argument about Dame over Russ. I'd love to hear it because there isn't one.
Okay,
I agree.
He's
Yeah.
underrated.
here's the thing. Name one time that Russell Westbrook has put away a playoff series. You can't. You
With or
can't.
without
Everyone's
KD.
done it twice.
With or without KD.
Either way.
Well,
Name one
without
time that
KD.
Russell Westbrook
okay,
has had a
so
solid number 2 option as the
I've-
best player on the
James
team.
Harden.
I've argued before.
This year, we don't know what they're doing this year though.
What are you gonna say, Jordan?
So you're saying when has he put away a playoff series? So here are my arguments. 2017, that is MVP year. That OKC team was awful, and I don't fault him at all for losing in the first round. If you look at the stats, him on the court in the playoffs, they were like a +6.5 in terms of point differential, and him off the court they were a -60, which is the worst point differential in NBA history.
Okay.
So there was I looked stuff up, and someone on Twitter had said something, had posted a stat from Basketball Reference. It was like they were in a game. I think they lost to the Rockets that year, right?
Yeah,
that wouldn't
the first
surprise
place.
me.
Yeah. But I guess they were leading in the fourth with like 10 minutes left. They sit Russ for like 2 minutes. They were up by 6 or 7. He comes back in 2 minutes later and they're down by 3. Like it just like I think that people put too much into like Russ is that main guy and like everything is supposed to be blamed on him, which should be the case for a lot of great players in the league. But you also have to look at in terms of how well they played when he was off the court, and they played statistically one of the worst ever. So
I think it's funny you mentioned that because what about the argument you had against Devin Booker earlier on?
what?
Like that you know
That
that,
defensively,
the
is
fact
bad.
that he doesn't have anybody else doesn't matter. Like that was the argument that you made. I can't remember if it was Devin
different.
Booker specifically.
If Booker took the Suns to a 7 seed like Russ did in 2017, I would have no problem with Booker being in the top 10. I mean, it's different than like the Suns continually getting a lottery pick in the bottom 5 every single year. Russ has never been on a team where they haven't made the playoffs.
Yeah, there was one year, but that's because he missed like 30 games.
Yeah.
And that's when KD was hurt. But that doesn't really count. So
yeah. So, but I mean, if he's able to carry that 2017 team with a pre-breakout Oladipo, Serge Ibaka, you can give Steven Adams. I'll give Steven Adams. He was a good player, but I mean, he did not have a clear number 2. And I hate when people say Oladipo was an all-star. He was not an all-star there. And Oladipo's even given credit to Russ, saying he helped him break out to the man he is in Indiana now. So I don't know. I don't get the argument with Dame over Russ, but
it's just I've to be fair, I have Dame one spot higher than I truly believe, because I thought that I would get absolutely trashed for putting I'll just wait. Go ahead and say the rest of your thoughts.
So we've done 1 through
5.
Sorry, 10 through 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all given our. Okay, so moving to 4.
I've got Luka at 4, only because I thought that I would get absolutely wrecked for putting him at 3 above Russ and Dame. But
I mean, I'm gonna get wrecked regardless. We're gonna see.
Yeah, I know.
I have Russ at 4.
Yeah, I do too.
So you're really gonna okay. You're gonna go off on me like that over one spot.
Yeah, because
that was like 5 whole minutes.
I don't get that argument. I don't get the Dame over Russ argument.
5 minutes I'll never get back because
So that means you have
because of one spot.
It's one spot, but so where do you no? Because you have Dame higher than that, right? You haven't named Dame yet, have you? Yeah, you have.
Got him at 3.
Okay,
but
it's more so. It's not necessarily that I have a problem with the Dame. But like I think Dame is a great player, but I have a problem with not just the one spot, but the fact that you think Dame is better than Russ.
To be fair, I think it's very, very close.
Yeah.
I just respect so much about what Damian Lillard is able to do in the playoffs.
Except when he gets to
except
the
against the Warriors. Except against the Warriors. But like
Yeah.
to be fair, who has been able to do anything against the Warriors in the last like 3 or 4 years? Nobody. So it doesn't really. I don't think that argument should have
it's not
very
like
much holding.
But it's not like his team wasn't good enough. He shot like 28% during that series. Like he played awful, and they couldn't even win a game. So like, how good is he if he can't beat? I mean, it was the KD-less Warriors. I know it's still a great team. Steph Curry and Clay are great. Draymond is great, but I mean, it's not like Dame was playing with a bunch of bums.
Yeah, when you shoot like that, you don't give your team a chance to win.
Yeah, and AD on the Pelicans was able to steal a game from the Warriors way back, and that was during Curry and Clay's year. So like your argument with Dame over AD, like AD was able to, as a big man, steal a game against the Warriors.
Who you say
Dame couldn't do that.
Dame is better than AD, which is tough. I know AD.
That's my take. It's the thing. It's very close. It's very close.
Yeah.
Same thing with Dame and Russ to me. But yeah.
All right. So
and nobody even come at me in the comments calling me a Luka hater or anything, because
No.
Luka is one of my favorite players in the entire league. And I would definitely have put him at 3 if I didn't think that anyone else held the same opinion as me.
So number 3, I'm about to drop a whole bombshell on the world. I put James Harden.
at 3,
I put Luka.
I have Luka.
James Harden at 3. Oh,
And then
disrespect,
Brandon's
Anthony.
Dame. Yeah, Harden gets a lot of shit thrown at him. Some of it rightfully so, though. I think. But
Brandon, did you
you
say
can't
who
argue
was-
he has Dame at 3.
Okay.
Got Damian, yeah.
And then I think me, Pat, and Graham have the same one too.
I've got Curry
Yeah.
1, Harden 2.
Yeah.
Yep, me
I
too.
put Luka too.
All right.
I
I mean,
respect it just
we all
because I
are.
love Luka so much.
Just
Like,
I think
Yeah.
just kind of reminiscing on all the top 10s we've done. I feel like besides last week's, everyone's number 1 has been like it's that simple.
Yeah.
it's because we were talking about Tom Brady. It's
Yeah.
a little bit
Tom Brady was the
different.
topic of discussion, and 3
It's
of
been-
them.
It's
That's
been Tom
true.
Brady and Steph Curry.
Tom Brady,
It's been a
Steph
number-
Curry, and Patrick Mahomes.
One thing I
Well,
hate
Embiid.
about people that like I don't know how your feelings on Harden are, Anthony, but some people like I don't get the argument with Luka over Harden just because Luka on defense is awful and Harden has gotten considerably better than he was
And
like
Luka
4 years
shoots
ago.
like an awful percentage.
Yeah,
He's
and
like
I think-
42 from the field and 30 from 3 or something.
and there's no playoff argument you can use. Like if you're gonna say Dame over, or if you want to say like Dame over Harden or something, it's like all right, well I guess Dame has been a little bit more successful because Harden has, has had years and years and years of just not doing anything. But I don't understand how people can say from 2 seasons, 1.5 seasons of Luka that he is over Harden, who's consistently put up 30 a game every season. You know what I mean?
So what do we think next week? Top 10 forwards?
Yeah, we'll do
absolutely.
forwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you just
Gotta finish
completely
that.
dotted Jordan's very valid point about.
It was like, I don't
I
know.
was pulling up I was pulling up our next segment. I was trying to like get my mind ready.
No, you're good. It's kind of like a question to everyone. I don't know how. I don't think Harden is like a lot of people have Harden over AD or like maybe even Harden over Giannis. Some people have, and I think that's absurd because I think he hasn't had playoff success, which is a knock on him. He doesn't necessarily shoot a great percentage, and he has cold streaks. Like, I mean, when the season ended, he was in the middle of an awful stretch, and Russ was carrying that team.
Brutal.
So, like, do great players like that have like awful shooting percentages? You know, within
Steph Curry. That's why he's number one.
True. All right, that's
All
all
right,
I have.
so-
for that.
Since we just wrapped that up, I wanted to start a little something new weekly here. Get some listener/viewer questions coming in here. Last Friday, which might have been a little early, I put a sticker on my personal Instagram story, just asking for questions. I know Graham.
Spoon.
That's
Answer
good. That was
mine,
gonna
too.
be our first question. I want to ask you boys. A fella needs a little help. Graham Tuck asks how to spoon. Graham, you want to explain that?
First of all, if you don't get the reference, we can't be friends.
I get that right. Yep.
Yes, I get the reference.
That's funny. I referenced that today at work with some kid. It's funny.
Surprisingly, I only got 2 sports questions. Kind of.
Answer mine too.
40_428 asks, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The age-old question.
So original.
World might never know.
All right, move on to the sports ones.
I'm
Yeah, we're
done.
gonna lose subscribers for this. All right.
_blessed, good friend of mine, asks, greatest sports captain of all time. I say Mark Miss. Oh, I can't even
Mark
say that.
Messier.
Mark,
Messier,
yeah, him. New York Rangers, circa 1994.
Greatest captain ever. Ooh.
See, it's between 2 people for me. It's either Wayne Gretzky or it's
Yeah.
Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
And
Was
that
Wayne Gretzky
pains
the
me as a Red Sox fan. There's no way Gretzky wasn't the captain.
Yeah, he was definitely. I think Bobby Orr for me might be one of them, just because he
Yeah,
is. I
he's
don't
up there.
know. It's so tough. It's almost like, well, in basketball there isn't captains,
Right.
right?
They
And in
used
football,
to-
you've got like
Celtics
5 or
had one
6.
with like Paul Pierce, but that's it.
I
Yeah.
would think if we're going to say football, I think Ray Lewis, honestly, he was a captain, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because
I
his game speeches and his just energy before a game, if I was playing with him, I'd want to go out and rip somebody's head off. Just his energy was just there, and it was.
You
I
just made
think
me
I
think
told
about
you
the
that as
video.
captain.
You just made me think about the video of Andy Dalton trying to do the pregame speech. And just nobody was feeling it whatsoever. Yeah, Ray Lewis, I think the captaincy has lost value in football just because it's not like hockey or baseball where there's one captain and that's it. I mean, hockey you've got alternate captains, but that's a little different. In football, you've got 5 or 6 captains for every team, and so it doesn't mean as much. Like if you're a good player, you're gonna be a captain.
Yeah, and if we're talking like theoretically, obviously basketball doesn't have captains, but you can kind of, make out who may be the captain.
Jordan, Larry Bird, Kobe.
Like MJ, for me, MJ is like up number 1. I think if you're talking about who's the best to lead his team, who made his team a lot better, like MJ just knew how to, handle everyone's personalities and stuff. But obviously he wasn't considered a captain, so I'd probably go Bobby Orr or Gretzky. I think either one
I'll
of
go
those.
with Orr. I'll go slightly biased.
I'll say Derek Jeter. I hate to say it because I'm a diehard Red Sox fan.
Overrated.
Yeah,
Elmar's better.
Argument for another time.
but
Omar was better.
But yeah,
Elmar's
I'll say
better.
Derek Jeter. You gotta respect him, man. Like,
Yeah, I do
no matter
respect
how
him.
great you think
Yeah.
he
One
is.
Yankee I respect.
I mean, being from New York, I think I've had Derek Jeter shoved down my throat. So, I think I know how great he was. Last question I got is from Ride the Wave's own Ty Miller. Rank best members of Boston Big Three, cowards.
All right, guys. Our jaws might be on the line after this one.
Yeah, it's
So, are
I
we
don't
going
even-
for
okay.
I'm going to respectfully abstain from this conversation
I
just because
agree.
I've got my own stuff going on with Boston.
I also have
Yeah.
a,
But I'm not a coward at the
I
same
don't know about
time.
you,
I'm
Anthony.
just
I'm not a
mad
coward. I'll
because-
go out there.
I'm mad
We'll go out
confused
there.
about
So who
else
do we got?
is-
We got Brandon, Babs, Ty, and that's it, right?
And
Bro,
Joe.
there's like,
And
is
Joe.
Jay in
Yeah.
there? Like, there's so many guys that are on Big Three sometimes. There's like 6 or 7
Yeah.
sometimes. When they did the talk about
But
the
I think
events that were happening, they had like 6 people on there.
I think like
I'm gonna
the
go-
4 is what he's looking for.
I'm gonna go completely biased in order of like how well I know them and
Joe
how well I
Stafford,
like.
number 1.
Joe's number 1. I think Tyler's number 2. I've never met Babs officially, so he's number 3. And I've never even talked to Brandon, so he's number 4 for me. But
I don't know Brandon all that well, but this is not taking anything away from them. They're all great.
yeah, not taking away from anybody. It's just in terms of who I've had experiences with.
I think
So
I'd probably have to mimic that simply because Joe and Tyler are always active in the Instagram group chat. So I mean, that's
Right.
all I know.
I don't know. I think I would mimic the 1-2 as well. I think I might have Ty above Joe though, just because I haven't talked to Joe as much, but like you said, Tyler's active, and we also got to interview Draper with him, and he was chill as fuck. So I'll
Yeah.
throw Tyler at 1. I'll throw Joe at 2.
I'm gonna put Brandon at 4 just because I've never talked to the dude.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah. But he's a Red Sox guy, so he's probably
Right.
easily gonna move up in the list.
Number 3, I'm gonna put Joe Stafford. I mean, I'm not knocking anybody. He pretty much showed us how to use the website and stuff like that when we first joined. So I give him a lot of credit for that.
Yeah,
Him the
true.
rope are helping us show.
And
The-
Jake as well. Shout out to Jake.
And Jake.
Yeah,
Jake. Yep, shout out Jake.
the goat.
It's tough. It really is because I have a lot of respect for the two of them. But Babs did give me his WWE Network login.
Non-biased.
I have been.
That's it.
Shout out Babs. I have had a great time watching all the old pay-per-views and all the original content on there. I told him many times I owe him big time for that because it's fucking awesome. It's all I've been watching. Fuck Netflix. Yeah, just for that, Babs number 1. I mean, regardless of what anybody thinks he was doing with the whole Lance thing, he was just always a cool dude that loves to interact with his following and his fans. So you can't knock him for that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I might have to switch mine up. I can't remember who I put at 1, but I'll say Joe simply because his jersey swaps are the most like incredible thing I've ever seen. Like he's so good at it. And I did graphic design for a long time, and I know how hard it is to do a jersey swap that looks good, and he just cranks them out like it's nothing.
Yo,
So-
I went on YouTube one day. I was like, I'm gonna try. Like, I'm gonna look up how to do it. I looked it up, watched about 4 minutes of the video, and I was like, okay, I'm not. doing that.
It's so hard.
It's so like you have to like. Oh my god, I don't even know what the word is. It's
You have to do
so
everything
like
from scratch.
yeah. It's so like everything's like small little things you have to like detail perfectly.
Exactly.
It's insane, and his edits are good too. I
Yeah.
liked his Revis edit that he came out with a couple weeks ago.
Before,
Hey, maybe a future top 10 Ride the Wave Media members. who's gonna be the honorable mentions?
Number 1, Lance.
Completely unbiased opinion.
Yeah.
Before we go here, I just saw something on Instagram. I don't know how many of our viewers have been active on social media and stuff like that, but I've seen on a lot of NFL meme pages there were a lot of someone did a fantastic job. I hate to say fantastic, but they made like all the NFL stars what they would look like as females.
Oh,
Maybe that's a potential top 10 hottest female.
Jimmy G would be number
Whatever
1.
in the
I'm
NFL.
just
Jimmy
saying,
G, oh my god.
Daniel Jones
He's
and
good.
Ryan Tannehill. 1, 2, 3.
But as Fitzy has said, Edelman would be a very hot girl. Pause. That pretty much wraps it up. Unless you guys have.
Yeah, it's a good note to end it on.
This has been episode 3 of the New Guys. 3, Jesus Christ! Back at 10 weeks ago. Episode 13 of the New Guys podcast. You can check more of our weekly vlogs out at ridethewavemedia.com. This episode has been brought to you by. Well, no one yet. Someone please sponsor it. It's been the Core 4. So we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Yeah.